Hello, Internet, and thank you very much for tuning into the Cloud Native FM and Cloud Therapist YouTube show. You are watching the exclusive live stream, a conference afterthought. Guess what? The KubeCon key takeaways and some of the guests we'll be meeting. And one of my guests who's always been in the KubeCons, and he tell us what's going on there live in person from the glimpses of his eyes. And he done, I don't know how much work he's done on the KubeCon 2 days with live stream. I think if we cover the KubeCon Amsterdam 2026 around 4 and 5 hours, I think we put together a 5 hour show or more than that. And it is all actually possible just because of my wonderful friend, Richard. You are live. Thank you very much for joining me.
Yes, I can. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely, perfectly fine, Richard.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, welcome everybody to our live stream Afterthoughts. This is going to be covering the KubeCon Amsterdam, which I managed to attend. There we go. That's the T-shirt I got. Your same is here, and I'm going to be posting that soon to you, hopefully. So you'll get your own T-shirt as well. But yeah, so welcome everybody. Welcome to all my subscribers. Welcome to everybody joining us, and same subscribers as well. Hopefully we're going to have a great show. We're going to be talking about the conference, of course. We're going to be covering that and kind of putting our views on it. And I have a couple of guests dropping in as well, which should be good fun. And they'll be putting their views out as well on the conference. Yeah, and we'll maybe just kind of recap a little bit of the 2-day live stream same that we did as well. We covered quite a few vendors in the showcase area in our infamous showcase crawl, as we call it. I think I did about 7,000 to 8,000 steps. So my watch was very happy with me. At least one thing was very happy. My feet weren't happy with me, but my sports watch, my fitness watch, was happy with me. Yeah, and we covered. I think you were saying in the intro 5 hours. I think we did about 5.5 or 5.5, something like that. Yeah, hours of live streaming. So that was good. We had quite a few people drop in as well as our guests, so we appreciated them taking the time. We appreciate all the vendors really taking time to talk to us, because that time on the floor in the showcase area is precious for them to be talking to prospective customers. So us kind of hanging around and asking for interviews is probably an extra, but very much appreciate them doing that. And we will maybe go through them and thank them as well. At some point, we will put out something around thanking them maybe next week or something, but we'll certainly maybe give some afterthoughts in regards to the interviews that we did with them as well.
Just a little trivia, Richard, because you conducted 16 interviews. And very sorry for that, because I won't able to join you again this time. And I told you, the man versus KubeCon. One versus 16 interviews and 16 booths this time. It's tough, Richard. It's not easy. I think you've gone there
and chasing your friend down the hall as well, stopping him and having a quick chat with Marino as well. So that was good to do.
And also, I think it's a lot of the interviews, and I think you will be going off the floor, down the floor all the time. And whenever I ask, Richard, please go to this booth, and you go straight to the map and then see where this booth is.
I can't find it. I'm freaking out. I can't find where are they.
And today we have a guest where we actually try very hard to meet him on the KubeCon, and she and he will be the mystery at the KubeCon, because we wasn't able to meet them because they're the superpower of the KubeCon itself. And I think you go into the container and somehow you lost the booth as well. And then we're able to figure it out where it is. So that's where the people see the live in-person vibe. Like when you forget something, you go there, what's going on? But it's some great interviews. We talk to a lot of the vendors. They're talking about some very cool project as well. You go to the project pavilion itself. The CNCF hosted a lot of the solution we always love, care about, we're talking about. So it does all of the hard working is that. So we love appreciating seeing the interviews from the Chainguard, from the Tigera, first Upbound. I think we did interviews with the new companies like VexxHost. We also did interview with the Lightbit Lab, one of the new actually been frontier of the cloud, and they've been the emerging player in the ecosystem. So that's very
Indeed.
cool to see the new people actually being what their solution was. And we're predicting something of the KubeCon itself. We make a little bit joke about the KubeCon with April Fool is coming up, but we will be actually revealing the later in the show. But today, Richard, we have some very good guests on our show as well. And those guests are very important because some of the projects have been graduated into the CNCF after a long struggle and a long of hard work as well. And I really love about for one of the projects we reveal later in the shows as well. So please join us on the live stream, and please subscribe to these Cloud Native FM and Cloud Therapist YouTube show. That's where the beauty comes up, because we put all the hard working effort to setting up and talking to the guest as well. It's been some time very cumbersome because we have all the jobs in the back line as well. And I know Richard, right before the call, is doing some multi-threading, I believe, before the call as well. So luckily, we now have come to the single threaded as well. But we will be actually adding some of the guests as well. So Richard, allow me in the next couple of minutes to add our prestigious guest to this live stream as well. And then you will introduce them as well. And then we have a lot of fun talk as well. And one of our very wonderful friend and the co-host of the Platform Engineering series is also joining us today as well. And that has been the most crucial part of the live stream as well. So I will be adding one by one. So Richard, your time is to actually introduce them to our audience. So one by one. And this is a surprise for you. Which one I'm adding on the screen.
I don't know which one you're going to do first.
Absolutely. So one.
As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we have not rehearsed this at all.
Absolutely.
Just doing this on the fly. Here we go.
1, 2, 3, go.
Go.
That's me here.
We have Leo, the skeptical techie. How you doing, Leo?
Good. Yourself?
Good to see you. How's it going?
It does go. Yeah. It has to. Yeah.
Whereabouts are you? It looks sunny where you are. It's quite sunny here, but where are you?
After so many weeks of dull grey weather, yeah. So I'm in it's not mountains, it's a hilly area north of Czech Republic, close to the German-Polish borders. Wow. And I'm in my very own studio here in my caravan here. So
nice little caravan. Okay, excellent. So are you on holiday with the family, or are you just kind of relaxing a little bit, doing some fishing maybe?
I will be since tomorrow onwards. Yeah, hopefully we'll go skiing and all that. But
nice
to somewhere else, not here, because here's no more snow at all. But
right.
No, I just needed to do something here today afternoon, and I thought, okay, it's also a safe area from the screams of my kids and all that. So I thought, okay, I'll do the live stream from here.
So just FYI on that, because this is funny, I have barricaded myself into the room. I put a whole X and don't enter, do not enter. Crime area tape and everything. Hopefully they will actually get the message.
I remember last time speaking with you, it was something with the pizzas and all that. So you were ordering something, yeah. So
yes, indeed, yeah. So anyway, so just background on Leo. So I know Leo from my IBM days. We actually worked on in different parts of IBM, but IBM had one of those internal, I'm sure they still do, one of those databases where if you wanted a particular talent, you could just search it in that database, and then somebody somewhere from around the world would pop up and go, oh, I want him or her on my project, and then you'd email them and get them into your project. And I think that's how Leo found me.
That's how we met, yeah.
That's how we met, yeah, I think so. And then yeah, we did a couple of projects together, which was really good fun. And yeah, I've stayed in touch with Leo since
For
then.
the past 20 years or so, 25.
I know it's crazy, right? But we have managed to do that. And yeah, Leo has his own YouTube channel called The Skeptical Techie. So check that out. Make sure you subscribe to it as well, guys, because I think that's really a cool channel. And as you can see from his tagline, he says skeptical about AI, but still doing stuff with it, still building stuff with it. So that's good, Leo. There's hope for you after all. You might actually kind of, be coming around to enjoying doing AI. But we'll catch up with you on that a little bit later on. We'll talk a little bit more about your recent experiences with AI as well, which should be good fun. Back to you, Sain.
Thank you very much, Richard, for introducing our wonderful guest as well. And do actually subscribe to his channel. I'm putting the link on the YouTube as well on the comments.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. I've been skeptically about my own channel, The last post is there probably
skeptical
last year,
Maybe you have a booth sometime in the KubeCon and people will talk to you about what the things you have been doing in the YouTube channel as well. The YouTube Tech Show booth at the KubeCon, and
maybe next time, yes.
Absolutely. But Richard, once again, your time to actually host our next guest, and he's very special for all of our wonderful viewers. You can
Who is it?
They're actually watching Cloud and Cloud Native FM YouTube channel. They see them occasionally on our YouTube channel, hosting some of the platform engineering session. And I don't know about other, but I really appreciate the hosting skills of our wonderful guest. And he's been one episode away from closing the stream is on the platform engineering. But allow me to introduce the KubeCon special guest. How are you?
Hey, Courtney. Hello.
Woo! The backstage suspense is real.
I know. I have no idea who's going to be there. I had an idea like who might be turning up. I don't know how he's introducing them and which order. So there you go. Courtney, how are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I missed you at KubeCon. I didn't see you at KubeCon. I don't know what happened. Yeah.
We were running in circles.
I think we were at two different parties on the Tuesday night or Wednesday night or whatever it was.
Oh gosh, I don't.
Well, yeah, we weren't allowed to see each other, unfortunately.
Richard, I'm saying the mystery of the KubeCon is solved today in front of us.
Yes. We finally found you.
We found each other online here in a box. Imagine that.
But the Courtney, what is the dance we can do for the Kyverno graduation? Can you give us some of the steps?
Oh well, persistence,
tenacity.
Yeah, exactly, and patience, I guess, are the main ingredients of getting a project graduated on the CNC of landscape. But we did it thanks to the efforts of a lot of different people. So a very big accomplishment for our community and for our project, and so happy it's done.
And
brilliant.
And speaking of other things, you also the part of the committee, and you have been closely watched the Kyverno Con as well. And we'll be asking some question around that as well. But tons of congratulations on the first. And the Kyverno graduation is very crucial for the community, because I seem to see this is one of the project is being heavily adopted with very good companies using them behind the scene in their backyard. All of the rest of the people are investing it. I happen to work with the companies. They have been using Kyverno on their production setup as well. So I've seen that this project been shifted, has been submitted as a sandbox project with the graduation as an outsider, as an implementer, I did some contribution not on the coding side, but always on the side where I see where it actually been lift and shift companies and individual on the on the policy and governance angle as well. So everyone who is listening to us from the Mata team and all the other companies happen to involve in the Kyverno project, thank you very much for all of your effort, and tons of congratulations for being a project is now a graduated project as well. And also the one of the core energy behind all this movement is Quaternary. He's done some brilliant work over the year for that, and I know how hard it is, how much of the processes he's gone through for all of this graduation as well. So Richard, once again, allow me to appreciate another clapping for Quaternary and all of the graduation. Richard, do you have any other thoughts on Kyverno graduate? I think you always have some thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much into kind of policy stuff, especially now with with sort of Gen AI sort of coming in. We kind of seem to be moving a lot more towards the inference, and the industry seems to be going towards that. So we'll see probably a lot more stuff going into production this year. Gulp. So we'll see how that's going to work out for people using AI. Good luck, and AI agents and things like that. So I think anything that sort of drives policy, especially if it's a universal sort of way of addressing that, then that's perfect. And also I think, I mean, in existing sort of areas as well, everything from sort of cost management to security, to just kind of reining in some of those platform engineering sort of policies and things like that. Anything like that Kyverno can really help with is definitely useful for enterprises. So I think it's probably graduated at the perfect time. I think it couldn't be a better time for Kyverno to be a graduated project. I mean, I know that it's kind of been mature for a long time, as are a number of the other sort of CNCF projects. But the graduation, I think, comes at a very apt point. I think that's kind of where everybody's going to be sort of looking into implementing these things and looking at doing more sort of automation with their platform stuff and so on. So that, I think, is all where really Kyverno can certainly help. Courtney, I just kind of wanted to get your view very quickly on what was kind of the feeling around in the CNCF when it was kind of the run up to to graduation. And also within Mata as well. What was kind of, just give us a little bit of the insider view of what people were saying and feeling.
Yeah, the weeks leading up to graduation, it was somewhat surreal because we had opened our PR for graduation just at the end of November. So things progressed very quickly from that to mid-March, when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it was, okay, we're going to open up the vote next week. And it was such a quick progression that when I told the maintainers, they didn't believe it.
Okay.
They were like, I was like, so the vote's opening on March 16th. We're in like the quiet period if people have like any comments to make against them opening the vote. And they're like, oh yeah, okay. Like it was just this real, yeah, okay, yeah, sure. Like whatever that means. And then March 16th showed up. And here I was like spending those 2 weeks being like, okay, I'm looking to make sure there's nothing missing. Nobody's going to find anything, like last minute, wrapping everything up. March 16th shows up. The vote opens. I share the link with them. I'm like, the vote is open. Right. And I am refreshing like when my daughter tried to buy tickets for a BTS concert.
Yeah.
Refreshing my screen, right? And I'm counting and I'm like opening up to see the handles for GitHub to see how many folks from the TOC had voted yet. And my team was just kind of like, well, it'll take at least a week. Like this won't happen before KubeCon, right? And on the other side of that, everyone in CNCF was like, we're so excited this is going to happen for KubeCon. And so here I was in the middle going, is it going to happen or is it not going to happen? Yeah. Why don't our maintainers believe this is happening? Why is everybody else telling me it's happening? For me, it was very stressful because it was trying to get one side to calm down because my maintainer team just wasn't believing it yet, and the other side to get even remotely excited. And then when the vote passed, right, it was like, I know for sure we have the percentage because I've now reread all of the handles of TOC members, like we got it. and shared the screenshot. Response from the team was like, "Wait, what just happened? Really?" And then everyone was very excited. But it was a very unique thing because they tried to graduate the project a couple of times, right? This is as you said, it's a very mature project. It's been around for a while. It is massively adopted in production. And to be fair, we have end users that didn't realize that it wasn't already graduated. The CNCF landscape is so vast, and then to a point that the project is so used in production by such large companies at scale, a lot of times people don't even think about there's what must be graduated. And the graduation process itself is quite unique. It's a lot of it has to do with people adopting things in production, but not all of it has to do with that. And so you have a lot of different projects in different phases of sandbox incubation that are far more mature than what their actual level on the landscape might indicate. So that was also unique, reaching out to our adopters list, right, and being like, "So we graduated," and some of them were like, "Yeah, a few years ago, right?" And I was like, "No." And others
That's a good thing.
Great,
that's a good thing.
So it's I think every project has their own unique experience. That was ours. A bit of disbelief, and then a lot of excitement. And it was a really, really fantastic thing to celebrate it at KubeCon EU. The EU conference is the one that our maintainer team actually gets to attend. So the core part of our maintainer team, including folks who work at varying companies, happened to be on site, and so they got to celebrate it together. The people who have been working at this project for so many years and meet so many community members and contributors who were just so supportive, and then as well have their own KyvernoCon conference event. It was very exciting for me personally. That was the big one. It was like we got it through at the time where they're all going to be together as a core team and be able to enjoy it. So very great experience.
Fantastic. And you had also, did you have some talks that you were doing as well? Oh, hang on, but before that, was there a co-located thing for Kyverno? Were you in that, or did you have some talks to do? What was the thing?
Both. So I co-chaired KyvernoCon with my friend and colleague Shutine Zhao. She's also a maintainer of the Kyverno project. And so we had our own co-located event. I think our average attendance is like 269 people at that event, and the room held a total of 300 seats. It was standing room only almost the entire time, which is fantastic. Also showed a lot of interest and how important policy as code is going to become now that Kubernetes is the infrastructure that's running AI, right? This is what's going on, and now all of a sudden this is taking on a totally different level of importance for people. But we had our own KyvernoCon event. It was a total of 8 talks and I think 12 speakers total. I also gave a talk with my friend Lee Kapili, who works at Control Plane, around how to leverage Kyverno and Flux together and then MCP servers as well in order for your GitOps and security stance. So that was a fun talk. My daughter did all of our illustrations for it, which is also
nice
to be able to put up her illustrations. We were superheroes. I like Kyverno and Flux Mason, and we saved Cluster City. And so she did some illustrations for us.
Cool.
So it's fun to have non-AI generated illustrations for people to enjoy as well.
No AI slop in your presentation then.
No.
So are those ones recorded, by the way, the colo and whatever? Okay,
they're
good.
all recorded. Yeah, so you can catch
excellent.
all of them. We had some really, really fantastic talks. We had Nichols from Grafana Labs that also talked about the importance of observing your policy performance and how that's going to help you better your overall platform stance. We had a great lightning talk from a Gupta who works at Microsoft. I mean, we had really top-notch
So
Top-notch.
anecdotally, I was speaking to somebody on Tuesday. So this is the first day of the conference, and I said, "Oh, how's it going? And you just arrived or whatever?" And he said, "No, I've been here since Saturday." And he said, "I'm tired already." So I was like, and I thought, "Yeah, that's true because you've been on Saturday, and then you did the rejects on the Sunday, I think, and then the co-located ones on the Mondays." So like Tuesday is like halfway through the conference, and we're just doing the keynotes on Tuesdays. That's it's quite a funny sort of thing. You know, KubeCon has this sort of, you know, all this stuff happening before the official one, before the hordes arrive. You know, on the first day of the conference. But there's people already doing stuff beforehand.
Tuesday afternoon, and somebody said to me, "This has been such a great first day," and I also showed up and I did rejects, and then we had our co-located event, and I stopped and I went, first what day is it? because they had not
all a blur by then. Yeah,
I was like, aren't we halfway through? Aren't we almost there?
Yeah,
I'm so tired. What do you mean first day? But yeah, it's a long, very exciting week, but so I have not finished digesting everything that I learned and experienced.
Yeah, it always takes a long time to do. Now, you have been our co-host in our Code to Culture series. We have one more episode still to do. Now that KubeCon is behind us, hopefully people are going to be a little bit more free before the next one hits us, that is. And then we can finish off episode 6. So guys, if you haven't checked out the series, we're doing 6 passes between myself and Cloud Native FM, Sam's channel. So do check that out. There will be a playlist, I promise. People have said to me, "Where's the freaking playlist?" It's like, that's because we haven't finished all the episodes yet. So it's like, I promise I will do a playlist as soon as all 6 episodes are there, and we will link them all together. But do check out the episodes on my channel. They're already out, and the ones on Sam's channel as well. And then, yeah, hopefully we'll have you back for episode 6, where we're going to be looking back, God help us, on the last 18 months of platform engineering and what's been happening in the platform engineering world. And we'll be joined by Gotham, hopefully, and one more person. So we'll try and confirm that person as well, another guest as well. So, yeah, hopefully that should be happening soon. We'll try and get the dates out so we can actually do the recording for episode 6. Now, just turning to Leo very quickly. Leo.
He's skeptical. We're going to get the 6th one done.
The skeptical techie, Leo, the skeptical techie. Check out his channel. He's got some really great videos out, and always skeptical about something, Leo. So that's always good, and that's nice and healthy. It keeps us all kind of alert and
positive person I am, and I call myself skeptical techie.
And my claim to fame on Leo's channel. So Leo and I go back a long time. Leo and I have been at IBM. We worked together at IBM, so I know Leo for a long time. My only claim to fame on Leo's skeptical techie channel is the second K was my idea. So he came up with I think the first K, or we were talking about it on WhatsApp, and then he had a CAL, and I said, no, put another K there. So he added another K there, and that's like, yeah, perfect.
I give you even more credit than that, Richard, because you actually came up with the name, to be honest.
I did? My God.
Yeah, it was your idea, because you said something along the lines, you're always like rational or skeptical about technology, and you can bring this realistic thing, blah blah blah. You were either buttering me completely, or I don't know what that was. But it came as a result of this ping pong we had between each other, and that's how the channel name came up. Yeah.
Okay, I don't mind taking some extra credit for that. I'm okay with that. Excellent. And also, anecdotally, one more point about Leo is that Leo was actually going to be my partner on my channel, on the Cloud Therapist channel. So if you actually go back to some of the early cringeworthy videos that I've done on my channel, you'll see that it actually says on there Cloud Therapists. So it's actually plural, not singular, on that, because the idea was for Leo to join me on my channel and do some videos with me. Alas, he never did that, so I continued on the channel by myself. But glad to have you on, definitely. So Leo, just a little bit from you around this sort of. I don't know if you kind of followed the KubeCon stuff at all, but yeah, kind of what's your take on this sort of space, and anything on sort of KubeCon and the experiences with KubeCon in the past, things like that. What's your kind of two pennies worth?
From this year's perspective, so I asked my CEO agent Francis, okay, to give me daily briefs on what's happening on the KubeCon with regards of AI agents and all that. And one of the topics that came repeatedly during the week was, Kubernetes itself probably trying to justify themselves and the existence going forward in the era of agentic AI. And it felt, even to my agents, like they're pushing it so much, what would be our relevance in the big wide world? And there will be some, especially for the big shots. If you are Google, you probably will run your agents and LLM models in some sort of orchestrated way in Kubernetes. I, as probably is true for 99% of other tech companies or enthusiasts and businesses around the world, you mentioned a couple of times that, quite rightly, that agentic AI LLMs is a HPC model. I thought that too up until recently. Up until January, I thought like, LLM models lives in the cloud. That's it. That's given. Then OpenClaw happened. And Ollama happened before. And then you suddenly realized, well, hang on. If all that I need is a unified RAM between a GPU and a CPU, and you will hate me for that because I will say the M word for you. The Macs are actually great platform for that because it's ARM and it exactly has that type of hardware architecture. So you can actually, if you spend some cash, you can actually run a 70 billion parameters model locally, and you stop burning your cloud tokens massively. And I was, on Claude, I was basically at the highest max subscription at the 200 euros per month, something, okay? And I would still hit limits, API rate limits here and there. So I thought, you know what? It's actually, if you are serious about that, and if you want to build something and you want to start building software and tests and all that, there's quite a lot of moving parts. Maybe we will come to that in this live stream later on as well. But maybe we will do another series if Kubernetes especially is pushing towards this AI space. You need this as a baseline. Maybe we will have to do another Dead Tech series and declare Kubernetes dead at some point. I don't know. And I don't wish that, okay? I love that. And I spent a lot of good years with that platform, and, it would be sad to see it going, unlike OpenStack that we declared that so much. But this one was the one that was springing on me every day from the research of my agents and from the glimpses of what I've been able to follow during that mad week, by the way, because it was just a lot of time pressure around that time. Every day now in the AI space feels like a month or half a year. I just can't tell you how much I learned in the past 6 weeks since starting this wild experiment of, okay, if I run one agent and then he will orchestrate the other 7. So we have a CEO, we have a lead dev, we have one senior dev, we have 2 juniors, we have a tester, we have a QA gate, and we have a analyst and researcher. So 9 that is. And can they manage themselves? And you start playing with that, you start adjusting things. And if you would tell me a month ago that there will be 8 AI employees living in my own computer, I would be, don't drink that stuff, please, anymore, or don't smoke it, because it's just nonsense. And it's there, and it sort of works, sort of doesn't. It's fixable. I fixed it probably up to a point that I can live with it and actually ship some code that looks decent and work. And I wouldn't be ashamed to put it to production somewhere. And it's mind-blowing, and suddenly all that, excuse my French, crap around whether we do cloud or whether we do anything on Kubernetes and then how we deploy, and whether we use that or that piece of off-the-shelf software or not, to me stopped being relevant, because suddenly, I need to extract this data and I need to have it presented in a decent form so that I can show it to certain audience. Francis, can you please do it? Zack, zack, zack. 20 minutes later, ping pong iteration, it's there. And that puts quite a lot of us out of business, I think, and quite a lot of companies. I don't know the impact. When I was speaking about this recently, I thought, this whole thing is probably, there's a new era of internet. No, this is a new industrial revolution, which will have impact on how we organize our lives. It might be ugly, but it's there, and the train already departed from the station. And it won't stop.
Yeah.
So indeed. That's my take on KubeCon and beyond. Okay.
That's your take. As skeptical as ever. I appreciate that. Excellent. So we'll come back and dig a little bit more into the stuff that you've been doing with Francis and all that kind of thing. That's been fascinating, because you and I stay in touch on WhatsApp and so on. But just want to come back to Courtney for a sec. Courtney, what was your take on anything AI at KubeCon? Did you notice anything that kind of went, wow, they're doing AI in that as well now?
Well, that was pretty much the thought the whole time. Oh, wow, that's all any investors will give any company around here to do anything with, is they have to build something that's AI.
Ice cream with AI, popcorn with AI.
Also, one of the most entertaining things at KubeCon was not AI; it was the ice cream guy. He was trolling absolutely.
And the popcorn, yeah, that's true.
AI powered.
It's all AI powered, though, yeah. It's running on Kubernetes in the background with OpenClaw or something.
Yeah, far more clever than any of the attendees that were there. He was brilliant. But everything at KubeCon was AI in the showcase room, right? Everybody was showcasing something that was AI, or how it was going to impact your AI workload, or what they're now doing with AI. But then talking to actual attendees, they're all using some sort of coding agent, right? Everyone's using some sort of coding agent, but nobody's using a lot of any AI in production yet. There's a whole subset of humans that were at that event that are anti-AI, right? They're just straight, I'm not accepting that this is coming. Which, right, and I code, and that's what I do, and that's my strong point, and there's never going to be a coding agent that does it as well as I do.
Yeah.
And they're just anti all of it. And then the other side that's like, I AI everything, right?
Yeah.
And when you ask, okay, are you more productive? They're like, well, I do a lot more things. Okay, but are you actually more productive? Like, are the things that you're doing quality things than like
Is it saving you any time?
real? Are they actually saving you time? Well, I've created 15 prototypes of a product, like different products. And it's like, okay, but the prototypes and did any of them stick? Or, well, I don't know yet. And I think that is where almost everyone is actually in their AI journey. It's either I don't really know what I think about this. I don't trust it at all. I can feel that my job is in danger. And then the other side of it is I might be endangering my job because I'm training this thing to do my job. But oh my gosh, it's so cool. And I can't believe that I can train something to do my job. This is just amazing. And now I figured how to do somebody else's job. And now I'm training it how to do their job too. And it just can't stop. But none of it seems to actually be being used in production or actually making anyone more productive a lot of times. It does a decent enough, it's a good enough job to get started, but not good enough to actually ship anywhere. Right? And so now you've done a good enough job on 15 things, but you still have to review all those 15 things. And people don't actually get back to the review part because they're too excited about doing another 15 things. And then there's the other people that straight up are just, I'm not doing this. Like, I am going to code, like I am now going to code every last thing possible. And so that was interesting, just the different types of reactions.
Across the spectrum, I mean, certainly, yes, from the vendors, what I picked up on was, there was a lot of, obviously, AI being thrown into the mix. Simon and I think I've discussed, and certainly on my channel as well, I've discussed the fact that, when we sort of Gen AI started coming in, that sort of early 2024 and so on, those vendors that adopted it, it was basically an augmentation to the existing platform. So if you're Salesforce, you now had Gen AI in it. If you were Workday, you now have Gen AI in it. If you were doing something on your website, you've got Gen AI as a chatbot or whatever type of thing. So it was kind of augmenting what you have at the moment. And I think with agents, it has been the same as well. So if you look at Dynatrace, they have AI agents with it. If you look at some of the vendors I interviewed, so Teleport, Incident.io, and Dash0, all introducing AI SRE as a feature in their existing platform. So none of them are saying, yes, we have an agent now, and you can just drop it into your production environment, and we'll just run around and kind of do things for you separately and individually. It's actually setting it off from within the existing Teleport platform or the Dynatrace platform or whatever to then go off and do something for you. So you kind of gather the metrics, you gather the data first, and then you decide what you want to do, and then you set off an agent to go and take care of that piece for you. Whether I don't know, whatever it is, that's like restarting a service or restarting the whole cluster or whatever it is that you've set it to do. But it's a combination of things that are happening, and then you set off the AI SRE to basically start doing that job. But it's all within the confines of that platform. Now, the only exception to that, which I could be doing it discredit here, but the only exception to that was the project that Same Safdar and I picked up on, Mr. Safdar, in the Project Pavilion, which was HolmesGPT. So, as in Sherlock Holmes, HolmesGPT, from the description that we got from the guy that was at the booth, was that it's a AI agent, and it hooks into your existing observability platforms. So it has integrations with Dynatrace, Datadog, whatever it is that you have, and then you can set it off to go and do things for you. But it itself is I think, was the only standalone AI agent that you can actually kind of run in your production. And that really scared me, because I thought, everybody else is kind of augmenting their agents. They kind of, as part of their platform, you set them off within the platform. You can keep control of them, and you can tell them what to do and talk to them and all that kind of thing. But HolmesGPT seemed to be the only one that's kind of a standalone AI agent. And I'm now in your production environment. Where would you like me to go? And I can go and talk to your Dynatrace or Datadog, or whatever platform you have. And start working on SRE based type of stuff for you. And I thought that was kind of really the complete sort of turnaround and inverse of how I'd probably expect them to be running.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think when you were interviewing, I think on the HolmesGPT, I think project, because it's a CNCF project pavilion project. It's not a company specific thing. It's an open source tool. I think there's a bunch of other exist in the umbrella as well. I think somebody gets a Kubernetes GPT by Alex Jones, and that's one of very depicting picture, because it has some 2-3 very cool feature, and that's there the motion started. Everybody start doing their own kind of experimentation. One thing is it's right, the idea parts. It's, I think when you're talking to when there is an incident or question, it pulls a relevant signal, and you can write the prompt queries. It checks the metrics, and I'll explain the issues like CPU spikes and prod crashes. And I believe for the certain implementation of it is very good for the beginner level of it, because we know when somebody new into the Kubernetes ecosystem, he doesn't know the Kubernetes hierarchy, where the drilling need to be happen. For that part, I like the tool in itself, but the Richard point is same. We need these to be in the platform rather than somewhere else. So he will call about, I will talk about defragmentation or fragmentation a lot by the KubeCon stream as well. But speaking of the AI in particular, I think one thing I will call up our attention here as well. Back in the day, I did a podcast with the LLMD project. I think it's 4 or 5 months back, with the Red Hat guys, Christopher Newland, and I think one other guy. And he introduced me the project called LLMD. It's now been in the sandbox projects. So I can see within the CNCF tooling umbrella, the LLMD is starting to get a little bit of attention for the most of the companies, because I think the one thing I like about the LLMD is that if you train your LLM, it has some prerequisite to it. It has stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4. What you can do is you can do this fragmentation, or this stage 1 can be run on a node which has a CPU or GPU requirement, and the GPU is needed for that part. But in some stage 1 or stage 3 and stage 4, you don't need a GPU or a very complicated setup. So you can find the node that is cheaper inside, and you can do the stage 3 in that part. One, it's actually lower down the cost on the companies, and number two, it speed up your LLM processes and the way the stage is built up. So I like this approach of doing the micro segmentation of the LLM, where it's need kind of a GPU, we can give it to them. But where it's don't need them, we can bypass the route or hook as well. So I like LLMD in that phase. It's currently been, I think in KubeCon, they actually sandboxed it. Red Hat and I think AWS, Microsoft, and Google. The 4 companies are behind this project. So I'm taking a deeper look at it, where the LLMD will goes around that as well. Other than that, I think in the KubeCon, they added a DRU. I think there's a project from the NVIDIA, Dynamic Resource, and I'm actually forgetting what is U stand for. Specifically, the way we do the CPU auto scaling, when you need a certain node to, when you hit a threshold of 60 to 80% CPU, you can auto scale your workload. And if we have tools like CADA and Carpenter from the AWS, CADA from the Microsoft, we have auto scaling feature for and dynamic resource allocation for CPUs, but DRA is missing for the GPUs as well. And I'm forgetting some of the news here, but NVIDIA actually announced those sandboxes, some of the project with the CNCF, so they can basically do the auto scaling for the GPUs as well. So these are the two very innovative space. I think it's a very smaller in size of what we all need for the AI in general, but I think these are the two very good news that's come out from the KubeCon itself. And I think when Richard is interviewing all of that, I think that you interviewed Dash Zero, and they're talking about they actually been expanding their use cases for observing the AI agent capabilities as well. And then you go to the Teleport booth, and they're talking about their new tool they're adding up for the ephemeral environment being spun up for the AI agent. So you don't want to talk to the rest of the world. They can be sandboxes in their categories. So that's where the breaching part or the vulnerability part can be reduced to a fewer lines of the code as well. So I think in particular the AI, the KubeCon, I remember back in that me and Richard were talking about what is the KubeCon theme. This is it, but eventually it has to be another KubeCon with the AI theme. The 80 or 90% theme is still the AI as well. So KubeCon becomes an AI con in particular.
I mean, the point I think you were mentioning there, I've got no problem with the CNCF taking on AI projects and incubating and whatever, and administering stuff that will make it easier for people to do their own sort of AI stuff and run their build their own AI stack and so on. So I think that's fine. I've got no problem with that. My concern is when you kind of shoehorning Kubernetes into the cloud infrastructure that those AI projects will run on top of, and I think that is just exactly. What do they say? It's a solution trying to find a problem, or whatever the other way around. It's just like this kind of the resource allocation of your GPUs, and it's like that's a problem we don't need. That was solved already on physical servers. Why we now brought that problem back again to try and solve it now on freaking Kubernetes? There's just no need for that type of stuff. Like I said, I'm okay with LMD and all these other kind of stuff that, where you're taking the bull by the horn and saying, okay, let's try and solve this. Let's open source this. Let's make it easier to install or something like that. But not the infrastructure side of it. I couldn't care less whether I'm going to run it on Kubernetes. Yet, of course, the open source and the cloud native communities, that's what they're obsessed with now, and they've been obsessed with that now for the last 18 months since they kind of shoehorned themselves into the Gen AI space.
Oh yes, absolutely. And I think remember what the area where I'm interested in the AI is like all the observability companies I would to speak about, and that's I think we feel this when you go into into some of the booth. Is like observability should take action. It's becoming more prominent than ever. It's like we speak about where a lot of the companies is telling us information. Oh, here's a spike in you. Let's go fix it up. If you're the observability company is telling only this piece of information, I think on the marketing angle and the convincing angle, it would be very hard for them. Now the action part of the AI is getting more mainstream with the observability, and I think all of the companies on the observability angle they try to pick up, but I don't seem to. I think we haven't seen this piece much in the KubeCon on the keynote talks or all of the other co-located events, but it's still been prominent on the vendors booth angle because all of their phrasing in terms of on the booth is around AI meet action or something like that. And when you're speaking with them, this become more prominent than ever. Like AI should do some fixing, some catching, even though we're blaming AI for doing some very bad stuff. But on the other side of the equation is telling us, oh, AI, let's fix for me. It's typically they're talking about the HolmesGPT project. So this is also been happening. So if you live in the AI world, typically, you try to make sense what is going on and what is a make sense for me. I think the AI in itself is one of those trend where sometime will lose the common sense in a shorter period of time and sometime in a longer period of time, because all of the other trends, I think back in the day when this KubeCon was started, it started with the KubeCon and then started with the GitOps, started with the service mesh, then the policy engine, then the observability, then OTel, and then 2024 is the year when they strip down all of these their internal terminologies and come up with the AI, and they start shipping into the AI project. But those trends are make common sense a lot. Is like if you talk about organization with the GitOps, it makes sense for them. If you talk about observability, it makes sense for them. If you talk about the policy, it's crucial and that makes sense. But if you talk about the AI, the companies say, yes, we need to be accelerating this angle, but do not focus on now. It's the focus of the future. But where we focusing, oh, let's do that today and make sure these tools have been integrated. That's where I think is the common sense is becoming a really hard for the companies.
Yeah, I agree. I think let's pin the observability one. We'll come back to that. I'm just curious to get Courtney and Leah's sort of take on Kubernetes. So my question was, and I was, this was one of my quests when I was in Amsterdam, was have we now automated Kubernetes enough? So it's a kind of a fire and forget sort of thing. I mean, I personally would just like to have an agent that I can talk to. That's just part of my Kubernetes distribution, and say to it, yeah, okay, so I need 5 nodes. Here's the pods. The images are over here. Here's the IPs or whatever resources I need to give it, and then say, off you go and build the cluster for me. And I don't need to kubectl any of that kind of stuff, or I don't need to do the command line anymore. We should be beyond that now with agents. But Courtney, did you see anything at the event, or anybody talk to you about kind of the automation side of Kubernetes?
Yeah, that seems to be what everybody's hoping for, is to be able to automate a lot of these aspects of working with Kubernetes. But at the same time, that's the same conversation we've been having for I don't know how many KubeCons. Every KubeCon I've been to, right? That is the same conversation. Yep. That's what everybody's looking to do: automate all of these aspects of building on Kubernetes and shipping to Kubernetes. This is not a new issue. And again, all of the vendors on the floor, that's initially what their tools were meant to do, was find some way to help you automate all of these things for shipping to Kubernetes more efficiently. So this isn't something that people have actually solved. And I think that kind of leads back to what Leah was saying before about, well, Kubernetes, even if they force feed that this is going to be the infrastructure that AI is running on, that does not necessarily need to be the case. If here we are all of these KubeCons later with people still trying to automate tasks and not being able to do so, I would guess that Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud, AWS, and probably Red Hat will come out with some sort of AI agent that will spin up your pods for you with just a basic prompt, right? I'm guessing that those big cloud providers will do this. But that also begs the question of what will happen with the whole sovereign cloud movement going on in the EU, and what will those other smaller cloud providers do? And maybe they'll stop being cloud providers, and we will see other types of setups and infrastructures running that suddenly become a lot easier. Because what we hear every KubeCon is, well, Kubernetes is complex. This has not gone away. This is something we hear every single KubeCon. Kubernetes is complex. It's a complex thing. And then for at least the last 3 or 4, huge amounts of people are complaining about cost. Well, now when you add in GPU instead of CPUs, is a totally different level of cost. So if it was already complex and difficult to control the cost, and now you're adding in a GPU cost over the top of that, and you still haven't been able to automate things, it would make sense to be on Leo's side and be somewhat skeptical that Kubernetes is always going to be the default to run your AI workloads on, right? Because the same things that have existed, at least since I showed up in this space, and I think that 8 KubeCons in, those same things still exist, but just like everything at scale, they now become bigger problems. And AI, if people aren't using it in production, they still don't trust it. I'm not sure that even if those large cloud providers come out with AI agents to do those tasks for you, that people are going to trust that they're done the appropriate way.
We need another agent to verify the installation.
Exactly. That's exactly. Or a heck of a lot more policies, right?
Like, a lot more policies, yes. They'll follow the Kyverno policy, absolutely.
Leah,
what's your take on sort of automation? You kind of work with a lot of customers on the continent. What level of automation do you see from them? Is any of them actually doing things like Kubernetes, or are they still kind of, on-prem and lifted and shifted maybe into the cloud or something like that? What's your take?
Well, sometimes you meet organization that still lives in the 90s or 2000s, and not even cloud is a popular word there. But that's not the issue. That's not where I'm heading with this thought. It's, look, there's now a clear distinction of what I do right now home, and I trust it fairly confidently now, okay? Would I do it in an enterprise? No. Because the risk factor of unknown, it's more with the human behavior and the human psychology, okay? I would meet people exactly split into the 2 groups, like you've probably been meeting at KubeCon, who would be totally anti-AI for whatever reason. It's unknown, it produces slop, you cannot trust it, you cannot control it. The ultimate reason is, and you told this to me actually, Richard, no, we were discussing this, like, okay, I'm in my 50s, 55, 60s, and I have 10 to 15 to 5 years to go into retirement. And I have this thing that, well, maybe it won't necessarily replace me, but it will force me to adapt the way I work with it and steer it, okay? Now, automation for me personally in my own bubble right now is a sorted out thing, okay? Whether you would use Codex, whether you would use Cloud Code in your own terminal, where you give it access whichever you want on any environment you like, basically SSH keys, and then say to him, okay, here's an authorized CTL token, so you can actually go and do stuff in Kubernetes. And in the context file, you feed it actually the instructions that you want it to do, a prompt or a project context memory file behind it. And you say to it to do stuff, it will do it 90% of times accurately, faster, and better than you, if you know what it needs to do and if you can steer it. And I still wouldn't necessarily give it blank check and say, do it all right now. I would still be, okay, confirm, and just skim through the terminal to see what it actually does. But I've never seen anything like it would put rm-rf star delete everything in my Unix terminal or shut down the whole Kubernetes cluster. That kind of hallucination doesn't seem to be there. But of course, there would be people in the industry who would say, but what if? Yeah? And we are facing that what if right now for the enterprise world. But now we start seeing that actually, when you know what it should do, you can control it, you can monitor it. The automation for me is sorted out. I wouldn't now, exactly as you said, I wouldn't now bother to do a lot of stuff manually on the terminal. I can still do it, but sometimes I'm lazy and sometimes I'm stuck at step 5 and I'm thinking like, okay, how was the syntax exactly? Oh, let me cloud code do it actually. Yeah. And then he does it, and you know, do I save time? Probably. Do I need to think about it? Yeah, I still need to think about that. Yeah. Automation is a done deal. Coding and shipping a good code, unless you have multi-agents that can cross-check each other, and unless you have a test suite that you can use, is not done yet. And that's where you will also face memory holes, context windows, degradation of the memory and all that, which there is a journey that needs to be taken to rectify all that. There we are in the baby steps. 1 year from now, I think it could be a sorted out thing as well. But then how fast we adopt it into the companies, into the businesses, I don't know. It's a generational issue.
Here's a question for Leo, is for you as well, and also for the Courtney. I think one of the things we talk about is the code to culture, platform engineering, unpack for enterprise, and a lot of the fifth episode is we see within the organization there has always been a missing skill, overlapping skills are missing, and you speak about like some organization are still do not know what the term cloud mean for them. They're very older in their stack. They're older
They have to trust it, you know. That's on-premise, it's safer. That's sometimes the mantra that I hear.
Yes, absolutely. But the question I think we keep hearing from the organization, I happen to call it, the overlapping skill is missing. Like the one person within the organization who knows the stuff where the company is operating on, they know the older stuff. And then the new hiring only knows about the latest trend and the tech. When you work within the organization, the newer people doesn't know how the things have been developed in the past. So there always been a failure of missing out. Like if you do something and it's been broken out, you are the one to the blame. On the other hand, the older people who stacks they doesn't know how to do the container and the Kubernetes stuff. So the overlapping skill is missing. Do you think we go in the future in the time where the AI becomes an overlapping skills that lift and shift people from migrating from one stack to the new stack?
It's possible.
Okay. We have new guest comes up in our show, Richard. We have another guest which you would like to interview at the KubeCon. You go there, the KubeCon booth twice, and you somehow misses it. But now is your opportunity to talk to them. 1, 2, 3. So big claps to our wonderful friend, Neil Caswell.
How you going?
Thank you very much, Neil. We miss hosting you at the KubeCon, but thank you very much for giving us the privileges to host you in the KubeCon Afterthoughts. Give us a little bit of idea of how you're comfortable in traveling with the KubeCon. It's only 4 days. The memory still be refresher for you. And tells us about the portain and what you're hearing from the customer. But before we get any further, it's your time tells us how the days are going by after the KubeCon, because I know when you go from the KubeCon, you always feel tired of being 3 days there and you minded still recovering from it.
Oh my God, I tell you, flying there, because I was flying from Phoenix, so it was rough. I think it was a 2-hour flight to Houston, and then I think it was a 10-hour flight across. And so you land, you're straight into the event, you turn around, and then you fly back again, and it's like your body has no idea where you are, which way is up, what time it is, and it's like, oh my God. So like right now, I'm actually sitting in a hotel because I'm on my way up to take a few days off work to try and recover. So it's like, oh man, it's pretty full on, but it's absolutely worth it. The event is, honestly, it just goes like this. It flies by, right? Even though it's a long day, it's like 12, 13-hour days. It goes by pretty quickly. I kind of wish that they extended it to out to 4 days and had a little bit more breathing room around it. So do less parallel talks, more time to sort of just wander around and engage with everybody, and just make it 4 days rather than 3. I think that would be way better.
Oh, absolutely. Richard, over to you. Your friends is here, and you can ask all sort of questions. Oh, Richard, we lost your voice. We can't hear you, Richard.
My patron for my ticket as well, so I really appreciate you sorting that out for me, Neil.
No
yes,
worries.
I did miss you at the thing. I did actually come to your stand. If you look at the day 2 live stream, you'll see me actually coming around to the Portainer stand twice, and your colleagues were kind of, don't know where he is. He's not here. So
I was doing the normal CEO action of it's called delegate, stand duties, and disappear.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I think that's quite cool. So first of all, just kind of thoughts overall on KubeCon, and kind of just some of the maybe conversations that you had with with people kind of rocking up to Portainer's stand. What was kind of the views that you were getting there?
Interestingly enough, right? So we as a product have been around for a long time, since 2016, and most people know us for what we were rather than what we are. And whilst I absolutely love people coming up to the booth and say, "Oh, Portainer, you guys are awesome. I use you at home. What about work?" No, what? So I still have a lot of work to do in regards to marketing that we are actually a very, very good enterprise management solution. And whilst we have over 1 million users of our free home user edition, that forms an opinion of what the product is. Whereas if you look at our paying customers, they're all global 2000. So I think I need to be significantly more direct in my messaging, because a very common theme was, "Hey, I didn't know that you guys were enterprise." And so of course we are. That's how we're making our money, to make this free thing free. So yeah, that was interesting, but there still seems to be quite a divide between what I describe as the haves and the have-nots. And the best way of explaining that is those who have got their head around Kubernetes and those that haven't. The gap seems to be significant. There's those that are like, "Oh yeah, Kubernetes is easy. I'm just in CLI. I've got Argo spun up. I've got a whole bunch of CNCF tools, and I've got this." Then you've got nothing in the middle, and then people over here saying, "Look, we're still only just now wanting to get started with Kubernetes. We don't know what we're doing. We don't know where to start. We don't know what tooling to choose. We're on the trade floor. There's 240 vendors. How do I know which one to choose? There's 20 of them doing monitoring and alerting. How do I know which of those to choose?" Let alone everybody now had the word AI on their booth, and so now what difference does that make to anything? Is it better? Is it worse? It is a bigger booth, a stronger, more reliable product than a smaller booth. Who knows? So you can see, I would say more than half the audience were there to catch up with friends in the industry, and the other half, I'll use a phrase that probably doesn't translate well, a deer in headlights. They were like, "Oh my God, what do we do here?" There was kind of nothing in between.
Yeah, I think you're right in terms of the length. It should be a little bit longer. And I mean, I tend to find this with most of the events that I attend. I will look at something and go, "Oh, I want to go into that talk," and then I read another one which is in parallel at the same time. I go, "But I also want to go to that one." So it's like, which one do I go for? And I think that certainly does happen. We were talking about KubeCon actually starting much earlier, people coming in on Saturday, and then rejects on Sunday, and the co-location stuff, co-located events on the Monday. And we were saying with Courtney and Leo that we were, by the time you kind of started on the Tuesday, people are knackered already. They're too tired already, because I've kind of been there for like a half a week already. So yeah, I absolutely agree with that. You mentioned sort of AI. I picked up on AI SRE as a kind of a thing that the likes of Teleport, Incident IO-0 were all mentioning that. What else did you kind of pick up on around AI? Was there anything that caught your eye from maybe some of the other vendors?
Yep. So one of the big ones was dev platforms. So yeah, everybody is very familiar with Backstage and not Portainer, but Port.io. Most people are familiar with those as kind of like dev platforms. But there was a lot of people out there, I still think, where even that is kind of too technical. That one's been built by platform engineering people for developers as opposed to by developers for developers. And there were a lot more products out there, at least wandering around looking at people's backwards and their booths, that were making the promise to be a developer-centric dev portal powered by AI. So, you know, like trying to auto-create, auto-generate a manifest or a Helm chart, or auto-writing Docker files to build images. It was kind of all of the heavy lifting behind how does a dev just focus on writing code, and an AI automation platform does everything else. There was definitely a lot of noise of that on Backwards that I saw, at least down in the area where we were, which was the bicycle zone, I think it was called, down in that area. There was a lot of this AI dev platform centric storytelling.
We were talking about earlier. Well, I had a wish, which was to be able to talk to an LLM and then ask her to actually go and create my Kubernetes cluster for me, and I can just provide it with all the, this is where my images are. This is the security I want. This is the, components. This, I want 5 nodes or 10 nodes or whatever, and my pods are this. So here's the namespaces. Go off and create it for me. Is that something that you is that on your wish list as well, or is that something that you've seen, or maybe you kind of want to consider in the future?
I think that whole cluster stand up, like building clusters, it was, and I'm going to say was, a solved problem with the likes of Crossplane. I think given Crossplane has the largest amount of following and plugins, it would make logical sense for them to add that capability. But yeah, I mean, asking an LLM to go and build you some automation tooling and then execute automation is probably a sensible next step or halfway house if you didn't want to have Crossplane powering the actual automation of cluster builds, especially with Cluster API. You could put an LLM on top of Cluster API pretty easily, I'd say.
Just need one question on that. I think you back in the day you actually talk about the K9 and you do other project. The Portainer actually launched. I think the K9 and one other. What about the status of those 2 projects within the Portainer ecosystem? You've seen some of the customers starting to using it, or some of the feedback actually has been collected from those 2 projects?
We've got a bunch of projects in the wind at the moment. So obviously you've got the core Portainer product, which is our multi-cluster management control plane. We like to call an operator panel. And so this is the place that you log into and you can configure all of your Docker, Podman, and Kubernetes environments from one central place, right? So that's like the hub of our world. And then around that, we've got some other projects. We have our kubesolo Kubernetes distro, which is the Kubernetes in 200 meg of RAM distro, designed for single node Kubernetes clusters. It was initially designed for Kubernetes at the far edge, whereas a lot of the interest there has been CI/CD pipelines, dev tooling, and even now AI at the edge. So I originally thought, kubesolo would be a great little kube distro to run on PLCs or very, very small IPCs at the far edge that are RAM constrained. Whereas in fact, people are saying, well, can we actually run this on massive AI inferencing servers where they've got lots of GPUs but very, very lightweight CPU? Cool, that makes sense there too. So we've got kubesolo, and at our booth, kubesolo was kind of star of the show. That was what everyone was having the most interest in. The second project we've got is a product called D2K, which is Docker to Kubernetes. And one of the things, Docker became very famous. Why? Because it had the most amazing dev UX. Now, ignoring the tech, the UX of the Docker CLI was amazing. And with Kubernetes, you don't have that same awesome dev UX. It's quite complicated. Hence why you've got Backstage and other things trying to make it more usable. And so the concept behind D2K is, well, hang on a second, why can't we just make a Kubernetes namespace, for all intents and purposes, look like a Docker host? And so that's D2K. You can deploy a D2K container in a namespace, and it then presents itself as a Docker API over TCP, and then from your local machine you can do Docker PS, Docker Run, Docker Compose, anything you want against that API endpoint, and D2K translates that into Kubernetes native primitives. It'll create a deployment, it'll scale it up. You've got PVCs, you've got load balancer support. And so a dev can simply use Docker and all of the Docker tooling that they've become accustomed with, that they fell in love with when they first got exposed to Docker, against now a platform engineering managed monstrous shared cluster. So there's that little project. Then yes, of course, we have K9, which is our attempt at saying, well, again, how do we try and remove Kubernetes out of the equation? Let's not even use the word Kubernetes. Let's just talk about containers. And so, K9 is there. And we also have another project we're playing with called Portainer Run, which is a replica of Google Cloud Run, but using the Portainer API. So these, what we call skunkworks projects, are us trying to say, well, hang on, how can we alleviate complexity or cognitive overload from the end user of the platform, not platform engineering. Those guys have brains the size of a planet. It's the people, the end users of the environment, who come from all different walks of life, all different experience levels, who still need to interface with the shared platform. How do we do that? And so we've got these little projects to see which one resonates the best, and some will survive, some will die.
Oh yes, absolutely. And I think it's very cool to hear from those, because I did some podcasts. I'm actually happened to able to grasp this information as well, because I know this Portainer has some wonderful customers, and it's been there for I think the 10 years, Mark. I think you did a decade. Have you done your 10 years birthday party, or is it in the planning?
It's October this year.
Oh wow, great!
Ah.
That would be another good time to host Neil as well and talk about 10-year journey, because I think these are the 2-3 companies. Portainer is one of those in the ecosystem that has been a very long time there as well, and I think you guys have a wonderful job on the solution provider as well. But I go back to the Portainer because we haven't able to talk about one crucial subject, and that is platform engineering con. And Courtney, do you able to grasp some of the news? What comes there in the platform engineering talks? Some of you attended or happened to talk with the people.
Well, I did talk with a lot of people. I didn't actually make it to Platform Engineering Day because it overlapped with KyvernoCon.
Oh wow!
My other talk. But as you know, I have quite a few people that they are my conference friends in that space, and so it seems, I mean, most of like the downtime talks with people, a lot of people are still in this space of, I built this great product, I love the product I built, nobody's using it. So many coffees and just chats around my product's mature. It's definitely going to solve problems. Nobody's using it. And I continue to circle back because I continue to repeat the same thing to people, because I am self-taught techie. So I've had a whole life prior to being in tech on a product side of things and a sales and marketing side of things. And I say, okay, well, building a product is one thing, and then growing awareness and adoption and that people then use it and evangelize for it. And then you have to shorten that feedback loop to then make it better is a whole different process. One thing is building a product, and another thing is getting it adopted and growing awareness around it, right? And so I think the platform engineering space has matured exponentially. There are a lot of people doing some very cool things, and a lot of people, their products are being adopted and being used and very happily. And those folks are very happy and proud parents, right? They're like, my teams are doing so great. And that's how they talk about it. They're very proud of what's going on. But there's still a lot of folks, and kind of a reflection of what Neil was saying, the number of people who show up at KubeCon that are still trying to wrap their head around Kubernetes, and at the same time are being told, and you need to have a platform team, and and that platform needs to be a product, and they have to figure out what all of those things mean and what it means to them, and make sense of it all at the same time is oftentimes just too much. And so people end up at Platform Engineering Day event trying to make sense of something that oftentimes they're not quite ready to even implement because they're still learning Kubernetes. And then you've got the other side of folks who they've got every automation lined up and everything's going really great, and they've built the product, but they don't have a lot of experience in terms of understanding that if you build it, they won't always come. You're not always going to show up just because you built something. And so a lot of the conversations that I had with platform engineers were very much on polar opposites of that spectrum. And on the first day of KubeCon, they did, as they always do, who here is a first-time KubeCon attendee? And the number of hands that went up in that room was astounding. And so then I continued to ask people. Also, being a CNCF ambassador, I was one of the ambassadors in the networking nook on the first day. So and the people that I hosted, it was their first KubeCon. So what I asked first was, okay, so clearly this is your first KubeCon. How many of you are using Kubernetes? And the few hands that went up for those first time attendees, right? They're like, oh, well, how many of you are just getting started? Why have you come? I've come because I'm just getting started with this, or I'm a developer and I now have realized that I need to know how this works. And so there's a whole span of people there who, and a lot of, and then I asked, did you attend any co-located events? And the majority of them that attended a co-located event attended either a Platform Engineering Day, ArgoCon, because they heard that that's something that they're going to need to use, which they're not wrong, right? Like the GitOps is a thing, you need to know this. But I think a lot of times, especially folks like us, where people don't always realize that the knowledge gap that is going on is massive, just like Neil was saying. And that was very clear at Platform, at least with the Platform Con folks that I spoke with. There were people who are really, really, really advanced, and their product is really advanced, and what they're trying to do is get it adopted at scale by their teams. And then other folks who have no idea what it even means to build a product, let alone have a platform team. Does that mean I'm picking tools, or is this a cultural thing? I still don't know what DevOps is, right? And aren't we doing the same thing? And I don't think that AI is going to bridge that knowledge gap at this point. I use AI a lot to explain things to me because I'm not technically backgrounded. So it's like, okay, explain this to me like a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old and a junior dev, and kind of work up to that. But there's so much out there that, very much like what Leo was saying before, if you know how to prompt it, it gives you a really solid result for a lot of things like automating tasks. But if you don't know how to prompt it, it's not going to bridge that knowledge gap for you, no matter how hard you try. And so I think we're now at a point where the gap between adoption of Kubernetes, let alone AI, is exponentially growing very quickly, as well as practices around platform. And there's still a lot of people who have now built a platform, and now they're asking themselves why. Like, I built this platform, we put in all this time and effort. Apparently people have adopted it, but I don't really see things going faster or better, and we still have the same bottlenecks as before. And that also was a conversation that was repeated during my time there.
Cool. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
with platform engineering, right? It's really interesting. We get exposed to all sorts of different companies who come in and talk to us at Portainer, and some of them have a very, I would say, deeply technical perspective of platform engineering, where they say, my job is to build an amazing platform. And I asked them, okay, cool. So who are you designing for? You know, what level of skill or capability are you designing for your smartest developer, your least experienced developer, something in the middle? And they always say, well, I'm designing it so I can use it. And if they're not smart enough to use the tool I built, then we need to replace them. And I'm like, awesome. I actually sat in a Gartner conference, and there was an amazing speaker there on platform engineering, and he said the airlines have mastered the airline self-service check-in kiosk, which is one of the most complicated pieces of software you can imagine. If your platform isn't easy to use as an airline self-service check-in kiosk, you have failed. And yet most of the actual people who call themselves platform engineers I speak to have a completely inverse view of things, where it says complex is better. What do you think on that?
I think that is exactly what happens most of the time. And personally, I think it's because a lot of times folks who get put into a platform team to lead it are the most senior folks around, and they are the most experienced, and oftentimes they forget what it's like to not have that same experience. And then they are oftentimes placed in almost the banes of middle management, right? I need something that I can use and I can use for reporting so that I can show what's going on. And not always thinking about the fact that what you're reporting isn't actually going to be a good reflection of anything if the people who are supposed to be using that don't use it, so you have nothing to report. I also, one of my favorite people in the platform engineering space named Steve Wade, and every post he puts out on LinkedIn is let me come to your company and tell you what to delete from your platform. Like, you have way too many tools. You've built your platform to learn every technology and everything that's on the CNCF landscape, and you probably only need 3 to 5 of those things, and that's more than enough, and you still have more, too much to play with. And I think that he is totally correct. And unfortunately, most people start off with, they build a complete product, when what they really should be building is just a prototype of something to see if it serves anyone first, right? Let me build something very simple and very thin, and make sure that whoever it's supposed to serve sees the benefit of that, right? So then there's buy-in, and then we can make another step. But so many of those things have to do with skill sets that oftentimes engineers, that's not where they've spent their time building their skill set, right? And platform teams should actually be product-minded people. A lot of engineers can be fantastic engineers. It doesn't make them product-minded. Product-minded means, tell me what your problem is, and I'll try to come up with some way to fix it. And tell me your next problem, and I'll try to fix that one too. And you should start off with one problem and fix that. That's a first layer of a platform. And oftentimes people do the exact opposite, right? I have decided you have all of these problems because I'm seeing your problems.
Yeah.
Here's some questions. Sorry to interrupt, but we have some audience question, I think. How do you feel the number of people attending co-located events has evolved? I think at least BackstageCon this year was not as popular as it has been previous year. So, Courtney and Neil, you have seen. What's your thought on this one? One by one.
It's very expensive to actually to get the full tickets to be able to attend those events, and for people who are going by themselves, where it's not company sponsored ticket, it's very expensive to go to those fully sanctioned events. The difference between the full ticket and the not full ticket is significant. So when times are tough in the economy, then you don't go to those luxury events. You go just for the actual core event.
Absolutely. And also co-located events are oftentimes being able to have one is driven by how much sponsorship you have to cover the expense of it. So for example, we've had 2 Kyverno cons. This last one will probably be our last because we don't have huge sponsorship. If you can't cover part of the sponsorship, then you're not likely to get the event. And so some of them are very well attended because it's something that everybody wants to see. But like Neil said, you're also adding on the expense of an extra night in a hotel and more expensive food. And so people will pay that for something that they definitely know they're going to get benefit from. Whereas a conference about one specific tool that doesn't have a plethora of use cases or that you're going to build your own plugin for anyway is totally different than a global platform con, for example, where there's a larger array of talks and topics that are going to be spoken about.
Okay, so we have an interruption. Another guest is actually waiting in the lobby. And guess who it is? Richard, do you have any guesses? Which guest is returning up?
Oh, I can't guess. Just put them on. The suspense is killing me.
Oh my God. But I think you met him at the KubeCon. That all I
did. I most likely did. Yes, that's why I probably invited them onto the live stream. But just before you do that, just a couple of points from somebody watching. Actually, Purpose Peak 299. Thank you for your thoughts, by the way. He says people don't have experience in cloud stuff, even if they have the knowledge of development. I think this is going back to what you were saying, Courtney, earlier. And then another point from him, DevOps is quite an emerging field and growing rapidly, and it has a future. I think we probably agree in that kind of, platform engineering spaces. That's kind of really where it's going. And that sort of the classic DevOps, as I call it, is not really, I think, that. And I did ask some people actually about that when I was at the conference. And I said, are we seeing? Actually, I asked Abby Bankser at Syntasso, so it's on the live stream. So check out the live stream. It's the interviews there with Abby from Syntasso. But I said to her, are you seeing customers now kind of moving towards sort of platform engineering from that sort of classic DevOps sort of approach that they were doing before? And she said, yes, they are kind of seeing a lot more of that this year. And I don't know what your take was, and maybe ask the next guest this as well. But I kind of didn't see a lot more platform engineering in the showcase area. There was more AI and AI SRE and what else did I pick up on? Observability and sort of, again, FinOps and things like that. And the answer that I got for that was that's because we're getting on with it, which was really good. And I think that's kind of people are, sort of keeping their head down and getting on with platform engineering rather than actually just kind of talking about it and presenting about it. So I guess that's a positive. It's not completely convinced me about platform engineering, but we'll see how we get on. Maybe the next guest can shed some light on that. So go ahead, Sam.
Okay, Richard, thank you. So allow me to, I think we have a lot of platform engineering question is actually flowing through.
That's a chance.
It's coming up. So here we go, our wonderful friend from the CNCF community, Colin Griffin from Komodore.
Hey,
Richard.
Welcome. I thought you were going to wipe that stuff off your whiteboard last time. That's what I said to you.
It's probably the same thing from a year ago. No, it
changes.
I promise it changes. Live and die by the whiteboard.
How are you?
I'm tired. I'm still tired.
Still? You're still tired? You haven't recovered yet.
It was a great KubeCon, but it was another. I actually wore a smartwatch this time for the first time in years. I'm like allergic to when your phone vibrates now, I feel like. But I've watched the daily readiness check just tick down into like the teens. Every day you go out to these social events, and I took care of myself. I didn't even do a lot, but you go out and you stay out till 2 a.m. and then you get up at 5 or 6 to go get ready to host our platform coffees and other stuff. I'm still exhausted.
Fantastic. So give us a quick overall first of kind of your thoughts on KubeCon Amsterdam, and then just a little bit more in regards to what you're up to there, and the latest news that you're kind of hearing from the platform engineering world and so on.
Yeah, 100%. The questions you guys just had are really on point. And I heard a little bit about what Courtney was saying as well. It seemed like this year everyone has a platform. Like a lot of the solution showcase was different, fully comprehensive Kubernetes platforms, either maybe observability focused or end to end. There was a lot of end to end stuff, and the lines were. It was really interesting. I was talking with somebody about the idea where now I don't know who I can pick and pull from as far as vendors when I need to buy instead of build and pull some capabilities together, because I might have to get 2 fully comprehensive end-to-end platforms just because one has one feature that another one doesn't. And I thought that was really interesting about the vendor space there. I think everyone's trying to make that push for user traction, do everything with my platform and give me all of your money, as opposed to give me some of it and include me with other things. But that was kind of my big takeaway. And I talked to Abby about that as well, and some of the other crew. And I think it's just because platform engineering is everywhere. And I do think that while, when we're thinking about platform engineering, we have to think about the drivers and the value that we're providing and what the capabilities are that people actually need. And we talked several years ago about how platform engineering isn't a new concept, but it was a relatively new conversation. It's like in IT, we're chasing the things that are hot button subjects, but it doesn't mean that there aren't underlying things that are still active and need to be addressed. And the AI space is really bringing a lot of attention to that, because when we go in and we look and developers start using AI and we talk about AI readiness and things there, we work backwards and we discover all these different chains of components and systems that, if we had mature platforms, would already be there. And so the AI side is just kind of driving us into the need for deeper maturity there. But as far as what someone's going to pay for, when you go to your boss and say, hey, I need a thing, please give me money for it, AI is where the financial driver is. Give me some money for these tokens that I promise I'll use effectively. It's not, hey, please go buy me a platform. So it's really interesting to kind of see that stuff. But I thought that was an interesting storyline for me at KubeCon, was like everyone seems to have a really mature platform these days. And I would like to go back to seeing more focused vendors and driving interoperability and having choice for the customer, the ability to pick and choose and pull apart, because that was the whole point with platform engineering for us, is breaking down those barriers between different teams and giving people the right tools when they need it and not locking everybody into one platform. So I'm curious if we'll see anything different at KubeCon NA this fall, but I doubt that I will. It'll probably be more of the same. Anyway, that's my rant on that.
Okay, another question for you. I think we have another one in the chat, but we'll come back to that. And I'm only trumping the question in the chat because I'm going to forget what my question was. So,
yes, Richard, I have a small interruption for you, because we have some audience question, and this is for all. I'm
going to forget mine now, definitely.
What was the best talk in Amsterdam? And that is my question is cramping up as well. Like, I go with the Colin, Neil, and Courtney, because you have been Richard, and also for Richard as well. So who can take your first thoughts? What was the best talk in Amsterdam?
Well, I'm easy. I didn't leave the booth much, even though you missed me twice. So I didn't go to any talks. So I can't answer that.
How about you, Courtney? You have some insights?
Oh gosh, that's a really hard question. I didn't go to. I never get to as many talks as I always think that I'm going to. To be honest, I don't know. To be, I don't know. Well, Abby Binkster's keynote was actually a very, very spot on. I think it was a good overview of what is going on, where things need to go, at least in the platform engineering space. So I would recommend Abby's talk. Outside of that, I am one of those people. I like small. I wish that there was more 101 content, and there's not a lot. So a couple of 101 talks would be nice. I really enjoyed a couple of talks at KyvernoCon. I could very be self-promoting and be like, my talk was the best talk in Amsterdam, but it wasn't. But I think that is the great thing about KubeCon. There's so many different topics that people are talking about that there's the best talk. It really depends on who you are and what it is you're looking to learn.
Colin, same question.
I was gonna shill for Abby. I thought, yeah, but you know that. I mean, she's one of my former co-chairs, and I'm obviously in the platform space. But I know what Abby's working on, and really excited about some of the things that she's driving. I thought that talk was just on point. I didn't get a chance to see it, but I went back and watched the replay, and really liked what she's talking about, and excited where that's going. But I'm impartial, or I'm not impartial. I'm biased. You got to use my words.
I just watched all the talks that Richard did on the KubeCon booth as well, so I can take some from there as well. But I hope someday in the future, when I grow up, my talk will be the best talk at the KubeCon. As well. Richard, over to you. Have you attended any talks?
I have to say I attended absolutely zero talks, but clearly I had my hands busy for the 2 days, and not only that, but I actually had the rest of the days, the 3 days agenda was completely full. So I was meeting, I met somebody on the Tuesday night. So after the drinks networking event and on day one, I met somebody on Tuesday night in Amsterdam, somebody I know, friend in Amsterdam, and then on the Wednesday night I was at the boat party. So Datafy and all the others. Thank you, Datafy, for the invitation. And on the Thursday, I met a colleague, a T-Systems colleague, who actually is a Dutch colleague who obviously lives in Amsterdam. So I met up with him. So all my lunches and evenings were all absolutely packed full. And then in between all of that, I was rushing around, preparing for the live stream and talking to people on the live stream. So we did 5.5 hours, I think, of the live stream, as we said earlier on. So that was that was kind of really my time. So I'll probably be catching up with them. The ones I am interested in watching on the replay is all the sovereignty ones. That's kind of an interest for for sort of the area that I'm working in, certainly for T-Systems, the company I work for. There's a huge kind of focus, and certainly on the continent, there's a lot more focus on sovereignty and sovereign AI, which seems to be a kind of an offshoot of the sort of the more sort of classical sovereignty, if you like. So those will definitely be of interest. I want to see kind of what people were presenting about in regards to sovereignty. Just going back to you, Colin, very quickly.
Just a little introduction, Richard.
Sorry?
I will a little interruption. So thank Neil Cresswell for joining us. He might leave a little bit sooner. But thank you very much, Neil.
Thank you, Neil.
In some time of traveling mode. But thank you very much, because your
perspective. Enjoy holiday.
Absolutely. It is very important for this as well.
Grand Canyon, here I come.
Indeed.
Absolutely. Have a nice anything plans ahead, and hopefully I will bring you again for the 10-year anniversary of Fortainer.
You will do. Thank you, guys.
Take care, Neil. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Neil. Lovely meeting you.
Yeah, so Colin, I was going to ask you. So I did ask this question with from Abiel. I don't know if you caught it earlier, but are you now seeing platform engineering sort of just getting on with the job now? Are we seeing kind of a lot more focus on actually doing rather than talking about? And sort of the last few years we've heard a lot about it and talking about it, but are we now seeing a lot more sort of activity in terms of the practice of platform engineering and actually getting on with doing platform engineering? What's your view?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's enough maturity in the community now where people are starting to become experts, and really it's kind of product-led engineering at the end of the day is what that's all about. And Courtney was making a comment about that, I think. But it does seem that some of the folks who catch on to the trends have now moved on to other things, and we're left with folks that are in the trenches and are really eager to contribute because this is core to their day in, day out, and they're trying to get better. We're definitely not at a place where there is one best way to do platform engineering, and I don't think that's the point anyway. I think it's a good thing that there's a lot of different ways and a lot of different practices and approaches, but I agree with that. I think it's getting over itself a little bit, but it's definitely here to stay. And I think it's evidenced by, you can just look at how many people have platform engineer in their job titles now, which is insane. It's really interesting to think about. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we were in that room trying to figure out how to write that white paper, and now it's in a bunch of job listings and things like that. People are getting raises for it, which is cool.
That's fantastic, and I think it probably a lot of credit comes to people like yourself and other folks in the TCGs and what have you that are kind of driving that forward. Leo, have you seen a lot from your side around platform engineering? What's your take from customers and so? Is that a conversation that you have with customers?
It is still so. You remember that I did the video "DevOps is Dead," right? About in August, and how platform engineering is the natural evolution next step.
Yeah.
And although far from being the perfect thing, it's much better than the previous incarnation of DevOps, where you had this massive gap. And I think at many of those companies that I used to speak with and to was that devs wouldn't necessarily understand what the IT ops would prepare for them to use, and hence the barrier. It wasn't even a gap, it was just a barrier. Yeah? And I believe that with the platform engineering, we brought these two crowds a bit closer together somehow, not 100%, and it's still quite a topic, from what I'm hearing. Of course, we have this AI noise now everywhere that kills all the important conversations about the basics, and that's a shame in many ways, because can you have you brought up the topic, or we had this topic here before, that you can have an agentic SR, and you can have this. Yes, you can, but just because you can doesn't mean you should. I think there's a lot of things that could be done in a standard workflow automated way, hence pipelines from the good old DevOps crossed over into platform engineering. And just because an agent could do it, maybe it shouldn't, because it's just wasting time, resources, energy, and everything, when a simple script, simple workflow can achieve that. And I'm seeing that nonsense quite a lot actually from this angle, not only in the platform engineering, not only in how we try to manage infrastructure, but in everything. Oh, there's a problem. We need an AI agent for it. No, you bloody don't. You just need to define what the process is, describe it, improve it, and automate it. That's the first step. And then you realize that for many things, you actually just need good old tools and processes and workflows, and that's all.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it is kind of horses for courses on that. So if it can be done, more easily, it should be. But sometimes people just get, because that's kind of the latest thing, that they sort of want to go and do everything with that latest thing, because that's the latest toy to play with. Courtney, what about sort of Kyverno in this sort of platform engineering space? Is that a good fit? Or am I talking nonsense? Kind of. Colin doesn't think so. That's good. I'm relieved.
We should ask Colin. He's an end user who knows quite a bit
Colin
about
to the
it.
rescue. Appreciate it, Colin.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the same thing as speaking from a platform engineering side. One thing that we started to do in practice, or I've started to do in practice, is when we go and document platform capabilities and things, we start to document who the stakeholders are in the process. Like who are our users, who are the participants, who are the providers, who are the service providers, who are the vendors. But all of these things kind of break down into roles for us when you really kind of back up, and you use these roles and what map to what capabilities and things, like basically the way people do things, and build some intelligence there. And you start to kind of realize, well, I've pulled this role away from somebody that has a name, or a team that has a name. It's really easy to swap that out with a different identity that happens to be a machine, as long as we've defined those roles really well. And that's helping us understand, when are we ready to offload responsibility with the right guardrails, right? And put protections in place in an environment. We've been trying to do that to give developers access to clusters and free reign and all that, but protect them and protect ourselves with Kyverno for a while. And there was a KubeCon talk about the agentic workflows and how Kyverno is playing a part in that, and like creating rules for that environment. And I was trying to find the replay of it. I guess it's just not up for that one yet, but I think that's fascinating. Like once we can define those guardrails, and we can use something like Kyverno to create a policy framework, that's what we can use to create those boundaries and give like free reign within reason to these agents inside our clusters and other things there. So really excited about what Kyverno can do in that space.
And what about the sort of the AI in the platform sort of creation process? Have you seen anything there that's interesting to you, Colin?
I'm working on some stuff, but we're going to keep that on the down low for now. So I'm excited about it.
I'm not going to say anything.
There you go. But yeah, on
we'll edit this bit out, so you can say everything you want now, but we'll edit this bit out.
I've got some fun stuff. It's just like, finally, I feel like I have an opportunity to surprise some people with some fun things. But what's it called? The big area is like everybody's starting to kind of have an MCP gateway or an MCP, some sort of MCP in their environment. And MCP at the end of the day, for folks that are watching, is really, it's just like documentation wrapper around an API. Right? It's like, use this API this way. It's almost as if we had good Swagger definitions from the beginning, right? And to your point too about like running the scripts, we start to see, okay, yes, use MCP to figure out how to interact with this thing, and then build a script for me to do it in a repeated way. Please don't use up all of my tokens. There's some optimization that as you learn AI more, you start to learn those workflows. But on the platform side, going back to the question I think somebody had earlier about people don't have experience in cloud stuff, even if they have the knowledge of development. I think that's a great point, because if we're using AI as that kind of harness, or as that amplifier, if you use engineering thinking and product thinking and understand what, like, help get the AI to help you accomplish what you need to and help it figure out how to do the lifting, and you know the good engineering principles, it can be incredibly powerful. And like SUSE, for example, is introducing MCP for the OS. And so if we're thinking about like, oh, I got to do some package management, I need to now learn how to do immutable OS. I have to learn kernel module selection and tuning and stuff like that. If I don't have to do that anymore as a dev, if I can just kind of talk about the outcomes or maybe what I'm observing, or, hey, please get these logs or do things there, I think that's incredibly powerful. And as platform engineers, we have to have our feet and our toes dipped into all kinds of different skill sets. And so as generalists, that it makes us, we can be borderline specialists because of the assistance we get. So lots of good things happening for platform engineering there.
Cool, excellent. Well, I mean, definitely I want to see a lot more of that. And we were talking about kind of agents coming in that sort of build stage, whether you're building Kubernetes cluster or building a platform or something for your devs. I think that's really quite cool. Same, did you have any sort of announcements that you wanted to go through? I know you've been kind of combing through them since last week.
Yes, I think there are a bunch of, some of the, for me, it might be the good announcement, and you are always on the different side. And you can be, oh, these are the not good one. And that could be the case as well. And also Leo is here as well. So it's difficult for me to actually tell from the skeptical angle is it their announcement or not. But I will try my level best to do it. I think one thing we talk about is I think they hosted a Sovereignty Day at the co-located event as well. Yeah. Even though I'm looking at the docs and all the announcements, I think it hasn't been announced yet. But I think hopefully the talks are now slowly and already been published on the CNCF YouTube channel as well. And sometimes talks are wonderful from the different organization, from the different. So this is the space I'm looking into it as well. What is the sovereignty actually means today as well? And I'm hoping that some talks and some of the resources are not. I think KubeCon will tell us the right number, how many people turned up to the co-located event. And I'm hoping this will be out, the transparency report of the KubeCon within the next 2 weeks. So we have some more generalized authoritative data as well. But in terms of the tool and technologies we talk about, I think they also hosted some of the MCP-based co-located event as well, and also the AI agent as well. I think one thing is actually Linkerd that presented the MCP-aware observability for agent traffic. This is quite extensively. I have watched some of the material on that. This has been a very informative one as well. So it's MCP observability for agent traffic. I think Linkerd presented a session on that one. And as I told earlier, NVIDIA actually gave it CNCF a DRA for GPU as well. And you already did a critique on that as well. But for me, I'm taking an eye out and as well. It's been the new tool that the NVIDIA has given to the CNCF. LLMD is another good, exciting project being donated to the CNCF. That's also some of the good. It's had some own skepticism, but I think it feels like the running a workload in the one node where the GPU is available, but sometimes you have some prerequisite that don't need kind of a GPU. It's a good kind of a microservices style structure for some of the stuff. So this is also being announced. And as I think one of the transparency report, one of the technological reports by the CNCF actually hosted during the KubeCon, the 82% Kubernetes adoption. That's big. But only 7% deploy AI to production daily. That's sad, actually. Is it sad? 82% and 7% on the AI on the Kubernetes. I don't know what to comment here as well. Also, I think CNCF and /data the platform engineering tools maturing as organization prepare for AI-driven infrastructure. CNCF 19.9 million cloud-native developers globally. That's huge. The engineering side of the CNCF angle and the community and the Kubernetes, big, 19.9 millions of cloud-native developers. 7.3 million working on AI specifically. Richard, this is huge. Are one of them in 13 million of working on AI?
Well, I certainly am at where I'm working. I am, yes, definitely. We've already got a couple of projects out, so definitely.
So good. Richard is also one among the 7.3 million working on AI specifically. 88% covering on standard platform, the developer population data, and that's the frame in the KubeCon trend. Also, I think in the term of the sovereignty, I think that there are some of the Swiss banks did some talks on that. I will be keeping an eye out on that as well. Also, I think there are some other talks on the European cloud sovereignty, the uncomfortable truth about European cloud sovereignty from the Bram Verhagen. I think that talk is very important.
I definitely want to watch that one.
Absolutely. Then there's another, I think, Shadow MCP, the new security risk of unvetted AI agent tool. That I'm actually see what the Shadow MCP mean. I literally don't have any idea. Now the DRA goes GA in OpenShift 4.2.1. I don't think so. You are. I don't think how much interaction you have with the OpenShift, but still is the news at the KubeCon. OWASP MCP top 10 tools also been pointed out, and Kubernetes releases, I think, before the KubeCon. I think they release 1.35, and I'm losing out on number on that as well. I'm hoping we have a 1 year within the next decade or so, and we don't release any Kubernetes new version. And I will be jumping on that as well, with a no release on Kubernetes. I don't think the future is easier. There are more news than that, but then there's a Kubernetes 1.35 comes out. I think the KCP 0.30 release comes up as well on the KubeCon. KubeLB v1.3.5 is also comes up. So Richard, usually the news around some of the, I think I'm missing still today, what is eventually the trends comes up from this KubeCon. We know the previous KubeCons are completely the AI one, the last one, the AI observability one is become this is still the missing piece today. And I'm collecting the more information I have. I will share with the viewers what eventually comes out of it as well. But I think there's some very good news on some of the project being sent boxes, some of the project being graduated. And I haven't seen, I will see if there's certification out at the KubeCon as well. If there isn't any certification, I can assure you this is the first KubeCon without any certifications. News.
I know that the FinOps org was doing an AI certification, I think. So they were FinOps Foundation were doing something on AI. That was the one I picked up on. It wasn't necessarily at KubeCon, and I didn't get a chance to kind of go and talk to people in regards to that whole sort of FinOps space. I actually completely ignored the FinOps space, not just purely by accident, because I didn't really have time to go and talk to them. But there was quite a lot around sort of FinOps. It was I think mainly again sort of infrastructure, Kubernetes type of thing. I think the only one that was actually doing something different was Datafy, because they're kind of focusing a lot more on your storage kind of approach to things. So that was novel. I said Datafy are relatively new sort of companies, so they have a lot of focus in that. But everybody else I picked up on as I kind of went past the stands and looking at kind of the what they were doing. Everybody else was talking about Kubernetes and saving on your resources and what have you, as far as that sort of cost management was concerned. There was very little from, I think IBM KubeCost was there. So IBM KubeCost was kind of doing their thing as well. And that's kind of a lot more in the, not in the FinOps. I wouldn't necessarily put them in the FinOps because IBM has a wider portfolio of products when it comes to cloudability and all the other kind of stuff, which is a lot more around FinOps. But KubeCost is very focused on, Kubernetes. Obviously, there's OpenCost, which is the open source version of that. And nothing really massive, maybe I missed it, but nothing really massive around sort of things like an application performance monitoring and things like continuous profiling, the likes of Polar Signals in the past, which I have spoken to, kind of tend to operate in that space. Now, if you think about it, those actually indirectly also save you costs in the cloud because they're either reducing the type of the resources that your apps require in the cloud now, or during the development of the applications, which is kind of more the continuous profiling side of it. So all of those indirectly also save you costs as well in terms of your cloud resources. So FinOps is not FinOps. I think and the FinOps Foundation, they just seem to kind of ignore all this other stuff for some reason. Their focus is very much on kind of that sort of Flexera level, IBM sort of cloudability level type tooling. But there's a lot more, sort of focus tools like OpenCost and KubeCost and so on. They're kind of focused on saving your costs on Kubernetes. And then, like I said, the next layer down is more around application performance monitoring, so APM and things like continuous profiling and things like that. And I have tried to highlight that in the past. I wrote a whole article for T-Systems. I'll try and maybe find the link later, which was purely around that sort of whole taking a wider view of cloud economics, as I would call it, than just actually doing stuff on on FinOps. So that was certainly there. It was certainly visible. And then the other stuff that I noticed was around observability. So again, we've spoken about observability in the past, and I've covered this again a number of times on the Cloud Therapist channel. But from last year, I kind of picked up signals from the likes of Big Panda, Gartner at their IOCS conference in London last year were pushing these kind of signals as well. And those were around, I think you mentioned it earlier, Sam, you touched on it, in terms of observability, no longer being a passive tool. It cannot just kind of be monitoring and sending you alert information and then leaving it to you to kind of sort out how you go about fixing stuff, especially with things like an AI SRE sort of maybe sort of hot on its heels as well. So the talk was around kind of autonomic remediation, so actually getting observability to take an action for you. So when something happens, I want my tool to be able to take an action, whether it's an AI agent I set off to go and do something for me, within my observability tool, or it's just, I don't know, just kind of an action that it allows me to take either through Terraform, Ansible, or whatever tool I'm basically using at the time to take an action on my cloud environment. So that kind of automatic or autonomic remediation was one thing that came out of it. And then the other side of it was the classic sort of AI ops. And we've had kind of the likes of Moogsoft and others have kind of been in that AI ops space for a long time. But what we've not had is adding Gen AI into that. So the ability to have not just pattern recognition and do things like RCA and stuff like that, but actually I want to be able to, and this is a dream coming true for me. I want to be able to actually sit in front of my AI ops tool, or Gen AI ops tool, as I'd like to call it, and actually talk to it and just kind of through a prompt, say, okay, so you've reported this problem. There's a problem in my Kubernetes cluster or whatever. How do I fix it? Give me like the top 3 ways to fix it, or speculate on what might be the problem. You're the expert on this. You're getting all of the telemetry. I'm not. right? You're getting all the, the metrics and logs and whatever. So you've identified a pattern, hopefully. So tell me, like, give me the top 5 reasons why this, because not only do I want to fix it, maybe like restart the pod or, restart the node or whatever it is to fix it, but actually I want to know where the freaking bug is, right, as well, because I want to, like, report that back to my devs, and then we take it through the process to fix it as a bug or whatever. So I want all of that done through a prompt. I'm sick and tired of kind of having to go and look at all this stuff myself and figure out the problems, and maybe I get a clue from my sort of old classic AI ops tool it identifies a pattern or something. No, I just want to do it from a prompt now, right? So get Gen AI in there and and help me out to kind of figure out the problem. And yes, and then we can set off that AI SRE to say, hey, look, we've got this from our Gen AI Ops tool. Now I want you to go and fix this from now on. I want you to kind of go and look after it, or be on the lookout for this next time it happens, or this cluster is a bit weak or whatever.
And that's where people like Quaternary are very important. Because when you start doing something, it can damage stuff as well. And that's where the people like the policy become the very beautiful angle as well. But here are some before Richard, we have to close the marathon in the next few minutes. So I have to ask some April Fool question as well. So here's the first question for everyone here. There's the first question here is for everyone here is when you go, Richard goes to the KubeCon, Colin goes to the KubeCon, Courtney, me and Leo is on the far side of the KubeCon, just seeing on the screen what's going on. But the 3% in, what are the top best moments? Talk with the Courtney first, because you have some good moments this KubeCon as well. So if I ask you the top 3 picks at this KubeCon, what would be? Is there any list? Yes, but top 3 moments. Yes.
Oh, on a personal note, like on a personal.
Oh yes, absolutely.
On a personal side, top 3 moments. One would be going. I always attend keynotes in the morning with Atul Priya Sharma. This is a top start to the day for me every KubeCon. If you don't know Atul, you should go follow him and meet him. He's an amazing human, but we have so much fun at those keynotes for various reasons. We just have a great time. So that's a top 1. 2, this particular KubeCon, my friend Orlin, who used to be a DevRel at SUSE, and now he has joined the NeoNephos open source org, had a birthday, and a group of us organized a surprise birthday party for him, and he truly was like floored and beyond surprised. And so that was an amazing thing to be able to do, and very special because it was at a KubeCon. And this, I do wholeheartedly believe that the best part of KubeCon, while everybody says it's the people, it really is the fact that you get 3 days with your people in terms of you can talk about your job, you can talk about your family, you can talk about your pets, you can talk about your kids, you can talk about whatever, but it's people who actually care. And you don't get much time together in the same space. And it's so nice to just actually be with your professional network of people who become your friends. So those are top 2 moments. And then the third one, I would have to say, was enjoying the food. The food this KubeCon was so exceptional that the first day it was like, are we even at KubeCon? Is this what AI in keynotes gets us? Is this what's going on? Is it the fact that AI is now in this space? What's going on with this food? But being able to sit down and have meals with friends that previously the entire talk was, oh my gosh, are you going to eat that? I don't know. To this time being like, oh my gosh, so good. Let me try yours. And actually enjoying that time together in a different way. So I'd say for me, this KubeCon, those are my top 3. Keynotes of that tool, Orlin's very surprised face at his birthday, and then some really nice meals with some really great friends along the way.
Oh, good. And back to the Colin. And Colin, I always tell you are muted.
Yeah, Courtney and I crossed paths a few times, but we didn't really hang out. We got to change that.
I know we have to change. We always cross paths like, hey,
we're in the same circles.
We are.
We're changing that in Salt Lake if you're going. That's fun.
Good. Done.
Yeah, I went to Orleans as well. That was fun. That was a blast. I think the best days for me are always the co-located days now. You guys were talking about it earlier. It's, that's a huge hit if you get a chance to go. Thankfully, it means more speaking opportunities too, so more people can get tickets to those. And that was great. And yeah, Courtney, you took the words right, the food right out of my mouth about the word. The words about the food. The food was the best it's ever been at KubeCon, and I liked all the different food stations. There were a bunch of different varieties. In the past, it's just kind of been like, go get your sandwich. So somebody listened, and so I was excited about that too.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we need our fuel.
Richard is also actually praising on the stream about the food as well.
Yeah, I was. I think in terms of the variety, definitely it was good. So at least you had an opportunity for that. So Atul was actually on our live stream as well, Courtney. So he did join us, I think, on day one or day two.
Yes, day one.
He was on, I think, on day one or something. So that was, it was cool to have him on, definitely. I think for me it was certainly best laid plans, right? So sometimes you kind of want to coordinate all these things, and you say, yeah, I'll meet him there and I'll meet her over there, and this time at this date or whatever, and it never goes according to plan. Well, I'm happily to say that this time it did. I actually managed to meet everybody that I had intended to meet. So Pete Cooper, definitely. I met him on the Tuesday night, like I said. Sarah Poland, shout out to Sarah. She's been on my channel a few times, so I met her on the Wednesday night, so I got her actually on the boat, which was fantastic. And then Rick, my colleague from T-System, shout out to him as well. Managed to meet him, so that was really good. And I mean, just I think for me, it's kind of soaking up the atmosphere, and then being able to have the conversations with the vendors as well during the live stream. Obviously, doing the live stream is always good fun, tiring but good fun. I think I said, my watch was very happy with me for the amount of steps that I did. I think for that week, so at least somebody was happy with the number of steps that I did, and also just really kind of getting the vibe. What is the latest vibe? I don't necessarily need to kind of really go and sit on lots of the talks and the keynotes and what have you to get that vibe, but it's actually really good to be able to do that. And the surprise for me there was actually I bumped into a whole bunch of T-Systems guys as well that just happened to be floating around in the conference as well. So yeah, shout out to Frank and Sebastian as well who were actually there. So yeah, some colleagues from T-Systems who kind of work on a different side of T-Systems, but they were there as well. So I got a chance to sit down and talk to them. And I also spoke to a customer as well. So shout out to Andy as well, who was actually there. So I sat down and spoke to him as well, as he's one of our customers as well. So that was quite cool to do. So that was kind of really the highlights for me.
Oh, absolutely. And I think now we can say this, we covered KubeCon in 10 hours.
Yeah.
And that's
working towards that. Woo!
It's a Courtney hang out with us on 5 of the episode with the amount of time we spent today, and he spent one full day with us on the one KubeCon live stream. So this means how important is the KubeCon for all of us as well. But here's one ask for me as a joke side. There are a Midris 2 project is going. I think they're the first humans who fly back to the moon and see what's behind the moon as well. And if you go back in the moon, if you want to see what's happening behind the back of the moon, so which one of the 2-3 things you don't want to see on the back of the moon in terms of the tech. All of those. If you go back into the moon, and which one of the 2-3 trends or 2-3 things you don't want to see on the back of the moon?
Well, let me. My answer will be in reverse. So what I do want to see on the back of the moon is OpenStack.
Oh my God! No, you can't change it.
Oh, please.
I'll be quite happy with never to see that again.
The aliens burning the OpenStack to the moon's ground.
Oh my God!
Forever.
That's
The last copy of the source code just being like lasered by this alien spaceship or something.
Now that should be a prompt for an AI to basically create that visualization. And we have to use it on the next video.
The problem is, Leo, is that you'll come back to Earth and then you'll get in front of a Claude code or something and say, remember that project called OpenStack? Yeah, can you just rewrite all the source code for me? And it'll just go, oh no, it's back again.
So Richard, when you're rephrasing the question, when I go back to the moon, and all I want to see is everybody subscribing to Cloud Native FM.
That's true. That's true as well. Yeah.
But go to what do you don't want to see in the back of the moon?
I think if there are two things that I hope not to see behind the moon, is one, security. Nobody ever thinks about security first, and it is always somewhere behind the moon until something big happens. And so I'm hoping, especially now that we're in our agentic era, we can also add some security best practices first and keep that on the front side of the moon. And then the second thing that I hope not to see on the back side of the moon, and this is much more tied to the actual space on the tech side that I work in, but it was heartbreaking for me to see Nginx go to the back side of the moon. And because I do work in open source and I love our open source community and our end user adopters, and our tool is incredibly mature. But unfortunately, what happened with Nginx is a reality for the majority of open source tools, right? You went through the list of tools that have been donated this round to CNCF, like LLMD. Well, that's probably not going to end up at the back of the moon, not because it's great, but because it's backed by IBM and Red Hat and Google Cloud and a bunch of really big businesses that it doesn't matter that they're paying devs to maintain that, and is contributed to by really like Cisco and Hugging Face, right? But the majority of other tools that people are actually using in the cloud native space and in a lot of other spaces, that's not the case. There is some commercial company that is trying to keep its doors open. And the more and more people adopt that open source and don't give back to it, whether it's through contribution, whether it's through feedback, whether it's through buying the commercial tool because your company is now big enough to pay for the commercial offering, and you probably are going to benefit just as much from doing so, or finding some sort of resource to put in to maintain that project and participate, more and more of them will end up on the backside of the moon. That almost happened to Flux. Luckily, somebody stepped up and kept it on the right side of the moon. But here we are with Nginx. It is gone, and nobody's updated yet, right? Nobody's updated yet. This will become a problem. Again, there we are with our security that shouldn't fall to the backside of the moon. But those are the two things for me that I think the business of open source is constantly being shoved to the backside of the moon. Nobody wants to talk about it until it's in their face. And unfortunately, that is a conversation that if we don't start having it more and more and keep it on the right side of the moon, the dark side of that moon will happen and lights will go out for a lot of people very quickly.
Yes, and I could make a little more joke here, because I think the one thing you want to see on the backside of the moon is you're the better host than Pod.
Also.
Absolutely. But you are on my book. And I think, Colin, if I can read your mind, I think when you go on the backside of the moon, the one thing you want to see on the back of the moon is that the Chromeware is baited at media and becoming the $5 trillion company. That I already know this. But what you don't want to see at the back of the moon.
You're right. I would love to see that. That means more developers with more salaries. So that'll be awesome. I don't want to steal Courtney's ideas all the time. You just keep beating me to the punch. I hadn't thought about that, but it was a big undertone topic at KubeCon this year. Was like, man, it's really interesting how many vendors are using these open source solutions behind the hoods and calling it something different and not paying the maintainers. Just consuming right out there in the open. And there's a lot of really good ones, but there's a lot of really bad ones. So yeah, that whole concept needs to change. Open source is a little bit broken when it comes to money changing hands and all that right now. And honestly, there's a little bit of that that's evidenced in the that whole secure and hardened images space right now is a good example. They're making boatloads of money. And I'm not going to call out any particular vendors because some obviously do it different than others, but we're providing access to a registry and we've rebuilt somebody else's stuff, and some of that stuff isn't even validated, and people are paying like tens of thousands of dollars per image for things, and they're not giving back. There is one company, Secure Build, from Replicated, that's trying to build that pipeline where the maintainers actually get paid for consumption of their images through that subscription. I think that's really noble, but that's not necessarily going to make them win at business, and that's unfortunate. So yeah, I hope that people consuming without giving back is on the backside of the moon, like Courtney said.
Wow. Absolutely. And I think for Richard, I can read your mind and say, if Richard go back to the moon, already we told them what the wish is, but one other wish, Richard, when you go back, if you go there and you see the backside of the moon, you're actually keynoting the KubeCon Day 01. Do you know that?
Maybe. I don't know.
Or might be in another galaxy, you are already be keynoting the KubeCon.
Maybe in a parallel universe or something.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I think we haven't asked skeptical techie on the same question, or you asked, or you did once. It's Leo, your turn.
My turn, yeah. Okay. It's
going to be the skeptical one.
No. It's an optimistic one, okay? I just don't want to see that we lose our ability to build technology, infrastructure, platforms, and software, because quite a lot of these things that even I am now excited about are actually fundamentally shifting me away from understanding, and maybe the next generation of coders will really only be able to wipe code, and that I don't want to see necessarily, because you still need to understand the pedigree on how things works, how things are built. If we lose that, we're doomed, and we will be on the dark side of the moon.
Oh, wow. That's a good
one.
one.
Sorry. Yeah, that was my enlightenment moment towards the end of the stream.
Yeah, I have kind of a follow-up question to that too, because I think the same thing. I was thinking about it the other day. It's like the cost of disaster recovery. What happens when those models aren't working? What do you fall back to? Like, is that going to be a new form of disaster recovery for us? I can actually manually mitigate that issue or write that change, or it's just an interesting concept.
Do I understand the thing that was built well enough to be able to do something about it?
Right.
And it's, pilots, when they're starting using flight management computers and stopped actually flying the planes, but rather manage the flight. I've heard from pilots quite a lot of times the question, and certain models of planes, what the heck is it doing now? Now with all those automations and the AI behind it, we're probably will be heading to that era too, and wondering, okay, what is it doing now, and do I understand that? And you're exactly spot on, Colin, from the perspective of business recovery, business continuity, disaster recovery. That's going to be an interesting topic. Maybe a skeptical techie topic, or a cloud therapist, or for same for you as well. Yeah, it's something that we have to probably gather and discuss thoroughly, because it's one of the hot grounds. Yeah, again, potential dark side of the moon.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But I would like thank you everyone to saying finally, because thank you very much. It's kept Leo and Courtney for hanging us for last 150 minutes. Thank you very much. So it's been a tons of appreciation for both of you. Especially for you as well, because you might be feeling like still at the KubeCon as well. or you're still hosting the Kyverno con in your mind.
But that's just because I haven't slept since before KubeCon or since KubeCon.
Are we going to have this?
As soon as the weekend's over, I'm certain I'm going to get back. Like, the first meeting I have is going to be like, so Salt Lake City. And I'm just going to be like, oh my gosh.
Are we having these KubeCon afterthoughts regularly now, every week until the next one happens? Or...
There's certainly enough topics to talk for that long.
No, I know, Richard, you love series, so maybe you publish another segment, I don't know.
We'll have Courtney back on to co-host again.
Co-host, yeah.
Oh, yes. You have other duties as well. The episode 6 is coming up. Absolutely.
We promise.
Absolutely.
It will happen eventually.
And our field reporter, we wasn't able to catch up for the field reporting stuff for the colon. And that's why we're punishing him to spend time for us on the live stream as well. So that's also. But Richard, thank you very much for hosting another live stream with me as well. So we will try to break the record of the 2025. I think we did spend time around 16 years doing the live streams. And there's one more live stream coming up. And you will be once again, the field reporter as usual. So I won't make it public now, but it's coming up in the near future as well. So Richard, you have only few seconds you have only 10 seconds to wrap things up.
Well, I just wanted to thank all our guests. Really, really appreciate all your time and thoughts for today. So Courtney, Leo, and Colin, and obviously Neil as well, who's had to drop off. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Richard, for hosting once more, and look forward to meeting you again on another stream in the coming years as well. Thank you, everyone.